Hey there, welcome back to the Nourish CEO podcast. I'm your host, Laura Schoenfeld, and today I want to talk about how to make sales feel natural and easy. And this will work for you even if you have hated selling in the past. Now, one of the things that I feel is super important when you have an online business, whether it's in the health space, coaching, some type of practitioner services, you have to learn how to sell. It's something that I think a lot of people think that they can just skirt by in their business, just getting okay at selling. And it's probably the number one reason that I find that some brilliant coaches and practitioners do really well, and some of them totally fizzle out in their online businesses. It's really that desire to get better at selling. It doesn't mean you have to absolutely love it, but you want it to feel easy. You want it to feel natural. You don't want it to feel sleazy or gross or awkward or uncomfortable or like you're dreading it or avoiding it. Because to be fair, if you are avoiding sales in your online business, you're not going to be making money and your business is not going to last very long, especially since you're going to be competing with other people in your industry who are learning how to sell, who do want to get better at selling, who actually maybe even enjoy selling. So that's why I want to talk today about how to get better at selling and make it feel natural and make it start to feel easy. Because ultimately, the things that we tend to do in our business are the things that feel doable. They feel like something that we know how to do, like something that we feel good about doing, we feel confident in doing. A lot of times for our coaches and practitioners, that's serving your clients. That tends to be the area of your business that tends to feel natural. I know it can take some time when you're a new business owner to get used to serving clients, but for most of us, especially if you have an education, a degree, a license, if you've been through internships, if you've done things to learn how to serve clients and patients and that kind of thing in a job or in your business, that's usually the thing we feel most comfortable with, versus selling can feel awkward or uncomfortable or gross. And if we let it stay that way, it means we don't actually do it and our business doesn't survive or it doesn't grow. So I want to give you a few different strategies today. This is something that I'm sure I could do multiple episodes on, but I want to just get you started in your journey to making sales feel easier, feel more comfortable, and feel like something you're actually looking forward to doing on a daily or weekly basis. Now, what inspired me to talk about this today is we're actually wrapping up my 75 Rich Challenge. As of the time of this recording, we have about a week left, a little under a week. And then by the time this podcast comes out, we'll actually just have finished it as a group. So I had this challenge start on April 1st. We have, I think, somewhere between like 30 and 40 people going through it. It was a paid challenge, and the goal was really to create a daily habit of selling. Now, obviously, bigger goal is to make money, but a lot of times we tend to focus so much on the outcome that we forget to set process goals. And so the point of this challenge was really to create process goals, to check things off your list, to be able to work towards a consistent selling habit. So we had things like making an offer to your audience or to a potential client, reaching out to somebody in your audience or someone that you've had a conversation with, a warm lead, maybe a collaborator or a colleague who you could exchange services with. We had read some, I think it was like 10 pages in a sales and mindset book, track your actual cash collected every day. So these habits were ones that were really meant to help build that practice of selling and looking at money and thinking about making sales and taking actions that would help you make sales. And for me, I didn't necessarily have a particular goal other than to complete this challenge. Now, complete is in heavy air quotes because it was 75 days of 7 different action steps. And it's not like a normal 75 hard, which was what inspired this challenge, where if you miss even one of the 7 things, you have to start over. This was really meant to just be a target to shoot for. And if you missed a day or you missed a couple of checkpoints off of a day, it wasn't a big deal and you just kept moving forward. So I'm looking at my tracker because I made these Excel spreadsheet trackers for people going through the challenge to be able to check off their action steps and to track the amount of money that they were making throughout the challenge. And it's kind of funny because I had done this challenge primarily as a way to get back into selling after coming back from my maternity leave. I wasn't gone super long. I think it was like 6 to 8 weeks of really trying to do very little of anything in my business to, just enjoy the newborn phase and to adapt to becoming a family of 4 and to recover from birth and all that stuff that's really important for women after having a baby. So I was coming back from that. And I was also coming back from somewhat of a difficult pregnancy experience. So even before I had my baby, I just was not in a good space when it comes to energy, or my mood wasn't as good as it normally is. I just really was not doing great during my pregnancy in a way that would allow me to put all my attention into growing my business. So once I felt like I was ready to come back and I was feeling more excited about the business again, I wanted to do something to actually help me get back in the practice of selling. And when I thought about what I could do, I really was thinking about, what if I did something like a 75 hard, where you have these tasks that you focus on, you do them every single day, and you do it for 75 days because it takes about 66 days to make a habit, apparently. And so I wanted to do that to get back into the habit of selling. And then I figured, well, if this is going to be valuable for me, I'm going to guess that it would be valuable for my audience too. So I ended up selling it as a low ticket challenge. It was $75 to participate. And again, I had this spreadsheet where we were able to track how many action steps were taken over the course of the 75 days and how many sales were made. So I'm just looking at my tracker right now. And it's funny because we still have, I think, like 5 days left of the challenge. And personally, I have completed 36% of it, which I had a lot of travel in the last week and I pretty much missed every single day for at least 9 days. And then every other day, I didn't necessarily do every single task. So I definitely was not as consistent as maybe I would have liked to have been or would have been ideal. But even with that, even with only completing 36% of the challenge at this point, which we're almost done, we still did over $95,000 of sales during that period, which is very exciting to me because that tells me that I don't have to necessarily be perfect. I don't have to be killing myself to try to make sales every day. But with the systems that we've set up, combined with these daily practices on a consistent-ish basis, I was able to do almost $100,000 in about 2.5 months. My goal is to hit 100K before it ends. So I have 5 more days to do that. I'm going to see if it happens. But all of that to say, I'm pretty happy with how everything went. And again, these steps were not super, super challenging to take action on. They were really just good reminders of the type of actions that create sales in the business. And a lot of times it's things that we don't necessarily remember to do on a regular basis. So if you are somebody who did the 75 Rich Challenge, I would love for you to reach out to me on Instagram and let me know how it went for you. Because for me, again, I have a pretty established business, but for me, I was coming out of a really difficult and off the grid phase of my life with going from 1 to 2 children. And I know I needed the boost. I needed the reset. I needed the habit changes to really take into this next phase of my business now that I have 2 young children and now that I've been streamlining things a lot to really focus on our main signature offer, the Nourish Business Accelerator, when it comes to making sales. So again, if you did the 75 Rich Challenge, let me know how it went. I will certainly update you guys if I actually hit the 100K benchmark. But either way, I'm just happy that I was able to do a lot of action steps that allowed us to have a more than a 6-figure quarter at this point. So I just wanted to give you the context as to why I'm talking about this today. I will admit I'm not somebody who absolutely loves selling. I've met a few people recently who are actually like in sales, whether it was in medical sales or cybersecurity sales or just some kind of sales position. And I can tell that they actually really enjoy sales, which I suppose if that's your full-time job, you do have to enjoy it. And I've actually learned a lot from talking to people who enjoy sales about how they approach things so that not only do they have a better time with it, but they actually get better results. all of that to say, I'm not a natural salesperson. This is something that I've had to work very hard on getting better at over the last 13 years of being an online business and being able to sell not only in direct conversations, but also with my content that I'm creating. So all of that to say, this is coming from a place of, this is the stuff I had to do. And it's not like I just came out of the womb being good at sales. It's not like I'm naturally just got that type of personality that's good at it, which we all know those people who are just like really naturally persuasive and very good at selling. And it's just something that comes pretty naturally to them. That's not me. So if that's not you, just know that's totally fine. You can get better at it. And the things I want to share with you on this episode are the things that I believe will help you make the most progress in the quickest way possible. So first, let's talk about how we think about selling. You want to reframe sales as an act of service and not as manipulation. The reason why most health and wellness practitioners feel weird about selling, or even whether it's consciously or subconsciously avoid it, is because for them, it feels pushy, it feels transactional, and sometimes it might even feel manipulative. Now, we've all been in experiences before where actually the sales experience was pushy or manipulative. We were at a car dealership recently. Unfortunately, we have a Volkswagen Atlas, and I love everything about it unless it's in the shop. And when it's in the shop, it's annoying. And it's in the shop way more than it should be. So we're looking at changing the vehicle because we just need something that's reliable. And unfortunately, our Atlas has not been that. But we showed up to this Hyundai dealer to look at some Palisades, and the guy that was selling to us, he did not want to take no for an answer when he kept asking us if we wanted to come inside and talk about the cars. And we had our almost 3-year-old and our 4-month-old with us. And we were like, we need to get home. Toddler's beyond a nap. We're not here to buy anything. We just wanted to see what the car looked like. And this guy just kept like pushing. And eventually I was just like, no, we're leaving. We're not coming inside. And so, I get why he was doing that. His job is commission-based. He needed to try to get the sale. He couldn't let us go without at least trying. But that is a situation where it feels kind of gross and feels kind of like, why won't you just take no for an answer? So if you've had an experience like that, whether that's buying a car, buying a house, buying a business coaching program where I know some of the bro marketers can be really aggressive and not let you off the call without getting your credit card. If that's been your experience, then it's no wonder you would feel like sales are pushy or manipulative. However, that does not mean that sales in and of themselves are pushy or manipulative, because you've probably also made purchases that felt really good and you were excited about it and it felt really expansive to actually make that purchase, and you never felt like anyone was pushing you to do it. Now, that can be little purchases here and there, but maybe it's big ones. Maybe it's buying a vacation. Maybe it's buying your wedding dress that you're super excited about. Maybe it's buying a birthday present for your toddler, right? Like there's a lot of things you could be spending money on that you're actually excited to spend money on, and it feels good to spend the money on. And that sale is not something that required manipulation or pushiness. So sales are not either manipulative or not. They're very neutral. And one of the things that I've loved really hearing from the actual salespeople that I've met recently, the people who sales is their job, they always say that they feel like they're helping people when they're selling. So that is a mindset that is not necessarily a common one for health professionals, because for whatever reason, we think, or I shouldn't say we, because at this point, I don't think this anymore, but people that are my colleagues, people that are health professionals or wellness experts, coaches, consultants, practitioners, that kind of thing. For whatever reason, we come into our business feeling like sales is this necessary evil that we just have to push through, as opposed to looking at sales as something that actually helps the person that we're working with. So at the end of the day, especially when you sell the kind of offers that we help our clients build, which is a high ticket program, it could be one-on-one, it could be a hybrid, it could be group, but it's that higher investment level that really creates that buy-in for the client or the customer. When somebody makes that decision to get the result that you can offer them within your program, All that is that you're helping that person make a powerful decision about their future and how they want to reach their goals. You're not taking something from them. You're not stealing from them. You're not hurting them by asking for money for the service. You're simply guiding them towards the better future that they want. And you're helping them say yes to the investment in themselves in order to get there and to have the support that they need to get the results that they want. So when you show up to your sales conversations with curiosity about the person's situation and care for their well-being, just like you do in the coaching that you do with your clients, you naturally create alignment in the sales conversation and make it easier for the right people to say yes. Sales conversations should really feel more like coaching to an aligned decision, and that decision could be yes or no. It doesn't have to be yes, but it should feel like you're helping that person make a decision rather than trying to convince someone to spend money that they later regret spending. You should never feel like you have to convince somebody to buy from you if they're going to have the best experience working with you and you're going to have the best chances of helping them get a result. So if you go into sales conversations really looking to serve and really looking to help somebody and knowing that if they say no, that somebody else is going to come take their place and give you money to do the work that you need to do to not only have the impact you want to have, but make the income you want to make. If you just go in neutrally without having this tight grip on, oh my gosh, they have to buy, I need the money, I need them to say yes if I want to feel good about myself, like really just releasing all of that and coming into that conversation with a mindset of service and asking yourself, how can I best serve that person, even if they say no, even if they don't buy today? That is going to make sales feel way better for you. And it's also going to actually help make those sales more successful. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. And that's got to be the number one tip I have about selling, is to really come at it from a place of service and to not feel like you have to be pushy or you have to be manipulative in order to get somebody to say yes. Because if the person really wants what you have to offer and they're ready to change their life, saying yes to you is just a natural extension of the decision that they've already made to get support in reaching their health goals. Okay, so the second tip I have is really related back to the bit of the story I was sharing with you about the 75 Rich Challenge, and that is the daily practice of confident selling. So the main reason that I created that challenge, not only for myself, but for the people who participated in it, is to be able to have selling be a daily habit to the point where it doesn't even feel weird to do. It's just a natural activity that you do as part of your business. And the reason for that is because confidence in selling does not come from knowing exactly what to say at every moment in a conversation, whether that's a sales call or a DM. You don't have to have the perfect words to say to feel confident about being able to sell. What sales confidence really comes from is taking consistent, aligned action towards the goals you have for selling. And as I mentioned a minute ago, coming from a place of true service. So this is one of the reasons why I actually really like evergreen sales as opposed to launching. I have done launches before. I'm currently doing mostly evergreen sales at the moment. We might bring in some launches again this year. But one of the reasons I shifted to evergreen is because even though we've done $200,000 to $350,000 launches, so that's a span of like a week that we're selling, that we do $250,000 or more in sales. Even though I know that we can do that, I don't know if I love the high stakes of a launch where you feel like all of your sales for 3 to 6 months has to come in one shot. And it also causes the problem where you actually lose the habit of selling and having sales conversations on a regular basis if you're just launching. And for me, I just fall out of the habit, and then I fall out of that confident routine where I know how to communicate with somebody in order to help facilitate a sale. So I really feel like selling is easier when you're not packing it into one high stakes moment. And again, I'm not anti-launching, but you should be doing selling more than just a launch every 3 to 6 months. But you want to make sure that sales becomes a regular rhythm in your business. Now, selling isn't always money related. Selling is really just making invitations to people for them to take an action. So this can look at like reaching out to potential customers, starting conversations with colleagues to look at a collaboration opportunity, inviting people to free trainings or to download your lead magnet. following up with people that you've already had sales conversations with without fear of rejection. It really does revolve mostly around conversations and showing up and being visible to not only your bigger audience, but even to individual people that have expressed interest. And doing that on a daily basis in your business is the thing that will massively increase your sales, whether you're brand new to business or you've been in business for over a decade like me and you're already doing $500,000 a year and above. So all of that to say, the confidence comes from the daily micro actions, not from some big event or not from having the perfect script to follow or knowing exactly what to say within each of those conversations. Now, I will say when we work with our NBA clients, we do help them understand how to lead a sales conversation in a more effective way, because unfortunately, the way that a lot of people who come to work with us, the way that they've been selling is they're trying to convince people that they should buy based on all the features and the deliverables and how much access the person will get to them as the thing that they're selling versus selling the transformation that they can help facilitate within the offer that they've created. So we do a lot of work to help them shift the way that they speak in sales conversations, but we don't necessarily have this perfect word for word script that they need to follow, because when you try to get too focused on following a script, you actually sabotage your sales because you end up not listening to the person who you're selling to, and that makes an icky sales experience for the potential customer. So one of the people I met recently who actually is a dietitian who's the lead of a sales team, she calls it when her sales team shows up and throws up, like they just have this script they want to follow. They just go for the script and they don't actually listen to what the person's saying, who they're trying to sell to. We don't want to do that with a sales conversation. So yes, understanding how to engage in an effective sales conversation is super important, but we definitely don't want to put this pressure on ourselves to follow this perfect script, because ultimately that can do more harm than good. It's difficult and it takes the humanity out of sales versus just knowing how to ask good questions, knowing the type of questions to ask, and knowing how to respond when people share concerns, objections, things that might throw you for a loop if you're not used to selling. So these daily micro habits are so valuable for building confidence. And honestly, regardless of the money that my business took in during this 75 Rich challenge, getting comfortable with having these conversations was honestly the best part of that challenge for me. And for me, it was just getting back into the habit as opposed to having to overcome any fear or anything like that. I wasn't afraid to do it. I just had gotten out of the habit of doing it with just having had a baby. And I wanted to get comfortable with doing it on a daily basis again. So if you have any fear around selling, if you feel awkward, or if you just don't do it on a regular basis, this is the type of strategy that's going to help so much with getting you back in the habit of creating sales momentum on a daily basis. Now, finally, my last tip is about mindset, because whether you have a loose script to follow or you have a general approach that you're using to make sales, you could have the best script in the world, but it's not going to help you convert the most number of sales if you are carrying doubt about your service, fear about rejection, or resistance to having the sales conversation as you are putting that out there. So this is another piece that we really help our NBA clients with, is building that confidence in what they're selling. Because if you totally 100% believe in what you're selling, you don't have to force yourself to try to sell it. You will just naturally talk about it. You'll naturally have that excitement around it. You'll naturally want the people you're talking to get the benefit of what you're selling. And you're not going to feel awkward or pushy or nervous about asking for money or putting that offer out there because you believe so strongly in it. So if we don't believe in what we're selling, or we feel like, why would anyone work with me? Or we're not confident in ourselves, we're not confident in the value of what we have to offer, that will subconsciously sabotage our sales through our tone of our voice, our body language, if you're on a video call or in person with somebody, even just the energy that we're putting out there when we're having a conversation with someone. Somebody can feel that, right? Like we've all had that experience where somebody was saying something, but their energy or their tone was not in alignment with what they were saying, and it made us feel uncomfortable or skeptical. that's how your clients or customers will feel if you are feeling nervous, feeling doubt, feeling fear when you are putting your offer out there in front of them. So we need our beliefs about what we're selling to align with the sales conversation in order for it to be maximally converting. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to sell to 100% of people. So, nobody has a 100% close rate unless they are way too cheap on their prices. And we don't even want a 100% close rate. We want somewhere between 40 to 60, maybe up to 80%. But if we're not getting no's from anyone, it's a sign that it's time to raise our prices. So it's okay if you get no's, but if you're getting a lot more no's than you think you should be getting, it might be the mindset that you have around what you're selling. So we want to make sure that your beliefs are aligned with the sales process. This can be beliefs around your visibility, so being okay and comfortable with being seen by strangers or even being rejected. Believing that what you have to offer is of high value and is actually even more value than the money that you're asking for it. And also believing that you yourself are worthy of receiving for the value that you're bringing to your customers. So the energy exchange, the knowledge, the experience that you're bringing to the table, that is worth so much to somebody and that you deserve to receive in exchange for everything that you're giving to the other people. It's that reciprocity principle. So you have to have beliefs in those areas in order to make sales feel easy. And if you're missing that belief in yourself, in what you're selling, or even in the safety of being visible, then that is going to subconsciously sabotage your sales. So maybe you're doing great on all three of those. Maybe one or two of them are a problem. Maybe you're like, oh man, all of those are things I need to work on. For most of us, we have some work to do in at least one or two. It's rare that you would have perfect beliefs in all three of those areas. But you want to be thinking about where might some of these beliefs be sabotaging your ability to make as many sales as you could be making because showing up doesn't feel safe, rejection doesn't feel safe, receiving money feels wrong or immoral or whatever kind of subconscious programming you've gotten from whether it's childhood or college or grad school or wherever you're getting that programming. We need to make sure that the way that we see our offer, see ourselves, see what we are delivering to our clients is congruent with the money that we're asking for. Once you've shifted your mindset and your energy around those things and around the selling process in general, the way that you speak and the words you use and the tonality and the energy behind those words will follow suit. And that's when you get way more yeses than you would have gotten if you just followed a script and had low level of confidence and belief in yourself and what you're selling. So those are some of my best tips. Again, selling is this huge topic. I'm sure we could go into a lot more detail about it, but I just wanted to give you some of my best tips for making sales feel more easy. So just to recap, we want to reframe sales as an active service, not manipulation. So you show up with the mindset that you're here to serve the person who may be who may be buying from you. It's not about getting the yes. It's about making sure that they're taken care of. And if that means making a purchase, then great. If not, bless and release. But we want to look at selling as serving if we want to show up with the best attitude and the best energy for sales. We want to make sales a daily practice. So instead of only selling once in a while or avoiding it until your bank account starts to get low, we want to make selling a daily practice so we can become comfortable with it and it can become something as routine as brushing your teeth, essentially. And then third, we want to make sure our mindset matches our goals when it comes to sales and we're not overly relying on following scripts without addressing the beliefs behind the selling process. I'm not anti-script. We give scripts to our clients to help them learn how to sell more effectively, but the way that you speak has much more impact on the likelihood of selling than the exact words that you're using. And if you believe so strongly in what you have to offer, you can actually be mediocre at sales and still make tons of money in your business. So those are 3 of my best tips for making sales feel easy and natural. And this is even if you don't think you're a natural salesperson. I know I'm not. And this will make sales not only feel much more enjoyable for you, but it'll also become something that you do on a regular basis. And so that you can actually start to increase momentum in financial growth in your business and get to those 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K months that you're capable of as an online business owner in any niche, let alone the health space. All right, well, I hope that was helpful for you. If it was, please leave me a review on iTunes because those reviews actually help other people find the show. If you have a biz bestie who needs to learn how to get more confident in selling, send this episode to her so that she can help grow her business as well. And just feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I would love to hear from you if any of these tips resonated with you more than the other, or if you use any of them and you saw a sale work more effectively. I just love to know that this content that we're putting out has an impact on people, whether or not you ever buy from me. So let me know on Instagram if any of these tips were ones that you put into place and what the impact was. I would love to hear about how this is working for you. And in the meantime, I will see you here next week on the Nourished CEO podcast. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Nourished CEO podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation and it brought you value, I would be so grateful if you would take a minute to leave a review over on iTunes. Your feedback not only helps more amazing coaches and practitioners like you find the show, it also helps me keep creating the kind of content that you want more of. Just head over to Apple Podcasts, search for the Nourished CEO podcast, scroll down and tap that write a review button. It only takes a minute and it means the world to me. Thanks again for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode.